Fake heiress Sherry was bound to a favor system. Every time I tried to please my parents, they would just love her even more. In the end, she became the only little princess in their hearts. I, on the other hand, faced bullying and oppression, and after being kicked out of the house, her system even erased me. After being reborn, she sincerely advised me, "Sis, mom's coming back soon. Hurry up and get some foot washing water and please her." Laughable, right? I've been reborn. Why be a saint when I can be crazy? Sis, Dad just said he wants black pepper onion ribs before he left. He'll be back in 3 hours. Aren't you going to prepare it? Mom is already downstairs. Why aren't you getting the foot washing water to please her? Sherry's entitled demands didn't surprise me anymore. I sneered, got up, and fetched a basin of hot water. As she looked at me smugly, I didn't hesitate to splash the hot water right onto her face. Ah! She was drenched and glared at me. What are you doing? Even if you're unwilling, you shouldn't splash water on me. I'm just doing it for your good. If you please our parents, they'd be better to you. You just came back, there's no strong bond yet. It's the only way you can root yourself in this family. Listening to her self-righteous explanations only made me laugh. Yeah, for my good. If I went out of my way to please the parents, she could use her system to transfer all their affection over to her. In the past life, I exhausted myself trying to fit into this family. But the more I tried, the more my parents grew tired of me. Your sister is so sensible, why can't you learn from her? Your sister's heart is in the right place, all about honoring parents, but here you are fighting for their affection. I've told you many times, we treat you both the same. Enough, I don't want to hear your excuses. How can someone so cunning belong to our family? From then on, I was forbidden from even claiming to be their child to outsiders. It was only after my death that I learned she had a system to make my efforts transfer to her. The harder I tried, the more my parents disliked me and adored her. I worked hard, while she reaped the benefits. This rebirth was the universe's way of giving me a chance to go wild. She loves pleasing? She can do it herself. She loves foot baths? She can have her fill. Just then, my mom opened the door, seeing the mess and a soaking Sherry. What happened? Sherry pouted, but to keep my parents from being displeased, she defended me. Nothing, Mom. My sister got you some foot washing water, but I accidentally spilled it. Sis is very filial to you, seeing you're so tired from working out, she already prepared everything. But my mom frowned and looked at me. Things like this should be done by the maid. You're a lady, not responsible for such tasks. I had no mercy in my response. I didn't intend to get you foot water. Don't flatter yourself. I splashed the water on purpose. This was the system at work, clearly. After I spoke, my mom's frown surprisingly eased. Sherry, struck doubly dumbfounded, took seconds to muster a feeble laugh. No problem, I don't blame sis. After all, she just came back from the orphanage, she's got trauma, her actions make sense. Trying to summon my mom's guilt for me? No way. I glared at her harshly. Feeling sorry for me? Do I need your pity? I am the real daughter, and you're the fake, always blabbering about orphanages to flaunt you stole my life. Hatred flickered in Sherry's eyes, but due to her system, she couldn't retort back. Her face reddened, but not a single retort surfaced. And my mom, facing my arrogant outburst, showed remorse. Sigh, it's all our fault for losing you. You should have had a wonderful childhood. This system was quite powerful indeed. I remember last time, how I tiptoed trying to please everyone at home, only for their attitudes to worsen. Why not improve yourself instead of doing tasks like an ancient maid, thinking you parent us? We aren't that old yet, don't need this level of service. None that matters to you in learning, yet all you ponder is competing for affection with your sister, can't you be more promising? Enough, losing you was justified initially, should never have found you back. Yet now, my outrageousness only heightened my mom's guilt further. Indeed, the saying goes, to succeed, first go crazy. Alright, Sherry, your sister is temperamental, just tolerate it. No need to make her fetch water or anything for us anymore, focus on yourself. A flash of shock flitted through Sherry's eyes, she bit her lip, fell silent. To intensify my mom's dislike further, I didn't show any kindness. Enough, shut up. Don't disturb my return to my room. Upon reaching the second floor and just shutting the door, Sherry knocked. Sis, what's up with you today? Why treat mom and dad this way? I recall you said you wanted to stay here. If you really do, you should listen to me. The more you act this way, the more they'll dislike you. Her face screamed, I'm doing this for your own good, so I didn't hesitate to roll my eyes. Does it matter whether I stay or not? My attitude is my choice. Best not annoy me, or else, believe me, I'll slap you. Clearly, she didn't believe it. Jaw dropped, she started a nonsensical rant. How can you speak to me like that? Did you know, rudeness is what mom and dad dislike most? If you want to stay, then you should. The constant buzzing was super annoying. I raised my hand and gave her a solid slap. She stared at me with a red palm mark, furious. How ungrateful can you be? I raised my hand again. Do you believe me now? She gritted her teeth, furious and itching to fight back. I was ready, grabbing her wrist and giving a hard shove. She toppled over, landed heavily, her face turned pale. My dad had just returned, and upon hearing the commotion, he and my mom rushed over. Seeing the scene, they were stunned. You guys actually got into a fight? Sherry quickly shook her head. No, I just fell by accident, it wasn't my sister's fault. I crossed my arms, sneering at her. She didn't fall by accident, I pushed her. She came to pick a fight with me, how clueless. She knew she couldn't take me on, why bother embarrassing herself? Mom and Dad stayed silent for a while, then surprisingly smiled warmly at me. We were just worried you'd become soft in the orphanage. Seeing you stand up for yourself puts our minds at ease. Mom even grabbed my hand, checking it over and over. Did you hurt yourself? Meanwhile, poor Sherry wanted to grind her teeth to bits, lying there on the floor. Mom and Dad, how can you do this? Even if you want to be concerned about my sister, you can't just ignore me, right? Can't you see I'm the one who's actually vulnerable here? Their reaction really threw me. This is your sister's room. If you hadn't picked a fight, would she have hit you? How many times have we told you, your sister had a tough time, you should take care of her and be more understanding? How can you be so inconsiderate? I found it a bit funny. Thanks to the system, Mom and Dad seem to have grown eyes like hawks. Sherry got up, shaky and biting her lip, and went back to her room all pitiful. Don't hold a grudge against your sister, it's our fault for spoiling her. Now that you're back with us, we won't let anyone bully you anymore. They comforted me. To make up for their guilty consciences, they went as far as giving me a card. There's 30 million on here. Buy whatever you like. When it's gone, just ask us for more. I took the card with complete indifference. Oh. To shift the spotlight back on herself and regain Mom and Dad's favor, Sherry went to great lengths. Mom, Dad, here's some food my sister made for you. She knows you like fish soup and spent 5 hours making it. She brought out a pot of soup with a smile for them. But they barely reacted, calmly saying, it's fine, the housekeeper can handle things like that. I laughed, then flipped the soup over. I didn't make this, you did. You just want them to think I'm trying too hard to please them, being all careful and timid. You want me to feel inferior, right? Is it because you're scared now that I'm back and getting more attention? You want to mess with my head so that I get kicked out? I don't have a persecution complex, but I sure can talk nonsense. Even with me acting like a storm, they seemed delighted. They gave Sherry an impatient look. Sherry, we've told you before, you're both the same to us. Stop being so childish. Instead of these pointless schemes, focus on your studies and bring honor to the family. Sherry's eyes turned red with anger. I just wanted to help my sister, make you love her more, I wasn't scheming. I rolled my eyes at her, raising an eyebrow. I'm their real daughter, are there parents who don't love their kids? Are you doubting them or do you think I'm unworthy? Sis, are you looking down on me? She paused for a split second. I didn't mean that. What she meant didn't matter anymore. Thanks to her system, Mom and Dad's minds were all warped. They would do the opposite of what actually happened. Sherry, you've gone too far this time. How could you think that way? Apologize to your sister right now. Or else, get out. Her face turned from green to pale and finally gritted out, sorry, sis. I threw her a side eye. If apologies were useful, why would we need laws? Mom, Dad, if you don't punish her, she'll keep hurting me, and then what's the point of apologizing? They didn't see anything wrong with this logic. Exactly, Sherry's getting more out of line. Needs to be punished. Let's dock her allowance for a month. I shrugged it off, and they just went ahead and took her card away. At school, with Mom and Dad out of sight, Sherry confronted me. Anna, what's your deal? I was nice to you, and you made them take my allowance? We must have some misunderstanding. Why'd you turn out like this? She gave me a fake earnest look, eyes widening for effect. I snickered. What, have you been freeloading so long you think it's your right? You're not their actual daughter. Just had some luck, pretending to be my stand-in all these years. You think you deserve all of this? Whatever you took from them before, you owe back now. Without them around, she dropped the act, her face darkening. Anna, you're really pushing it. Don't think you're any better just because you're their real daughter. I couldn't help but laugh. Still better than you, a fake. Angrily, she rolled her eyes and left. A bunch of classmates still gathered around Anna, giving me sneering looks. Your sister really is a mountain girl with that secluded personality of hers. And she's a billionaire's daughter. You'd think she'd be more sociable, she hasn't even said a word to us. Right? Even though you're adopted, you seem way more gracious than her real daughter. By the way, Sherry, did you ask your folks about what I mentioned? Just a little investment from them, and they won't be disappointed. Since transferring, I hadn't seen anyone give me a genuinely nice look. I remember how, on the first day, they were so friendly when they heard my parents were billionaires. They all came to say hi and showed me around. But then, I don't even know what happened, their hostility towards me suddenly got way worse. Thinking back now, besides Sherry, who else would have a reason to smear my name and make everyone isolate me? The funny thing is, every time classmates would mock me, she'd be there acting all sympathetic and comforting. It's their problem, not yours. All of this is just an illusion. As long as you get through it, make your parents like you, treat you well, others will eventually respect you, she'd say. Sis, just hang in there, it'll be over soon. Yeah, it'd be over soon. I was getting isolated at school, trying so hard to please my parents, but she managed to steal their affection through her system. In the end, I got kicked out of the house, becoming the laughingstock of the rich kids. They'd say, been at the orphanage for so long, you're basically an orphan. She's worthless, never fit to be the heiress of the richest man. Born to be a beggar. Even after all of that, she wouldn't let me go. She really gouged out my eyes, left me in the bustling streets, living off others' scraps. My life turned into an utter tragedy. Now, I've gotta go completely mad. I grabbed a book from the table and hurled it at Sherry. Talking smack behind someone's back doesn't count, huh? Why not say it to my face? Oh, right, you're trying to suck up to Sherry, the rich heiress. Best way to do that is to boost her and trample on me. But don't suck up to the wrong person. Since I came back, my parents haven't really cared for her, the adopted daughter. Now they don't even give her pocket money. To my parents, she's like a stray cat or dog, something to play with when in a good mood, discarded when the mood shifts. The book hit Sherry square in the forehead. Before she could get angry, my words hit her hard, and she slammed the table. Anna, you're too arrogant. If not arrogant, how else to make use of a second chance at life? I sneered. What, hit a sore spot? Aren't you just a pet my parents keep? Doesn't seem much better. She glared at me fiercely. Do you think acting like this, your parents will tolerate you much longer? Once they see your true nature, they'll definitely kick you out. I snorted. Deluding yourself much? You really don't know how my parents view you, huh? Acting all high and mighty in front of classmates when you can't even pull out a few grand, yet pretending to be a rich heiress? Her face flushed. You're lying. My lips curled into a mocking smile. Then show us your bank balance. They want to cozy up to you, but you've got to show some clout. Everyone watched her expectantly. Carefully grabbing her phone, she hesitated, then just slammed it on the ground. It's you. You plotted to get my allowance taken away. I didn't run out of money, my parents just confiscated it. Don't listen to her lies. My parents really love me. I snickered. If you're a phony, keep a low profile, or else getting exposed now will only embarrass you and dishearten your followers. She turned red with embarrassment, glared at me, then stormed off. She couldn't argue back. Seeing this, my classmates' attitude towards me changed instantly. Phew, glad I didn't follow you guys in kissing up to Sherry or bullying Anna. I always thought, how could the richest couple not love their biological daughter, favoring an adopted one instead? I can't believe this fool didn't admit sooner she's not favored by the rich folks. Now I've got to worry about my dad's business after siding with her against Anna. Anna, from the first time I saw you, I thought you were so beautiful. With genes like yours, no wonder you stood out. Anna, remember your first day at school? I was the one who took you to the cafeteria. Sorry for any offenses before, Anna, it was Sherry telling us what to do, don't take it to heart. I flashed them a little smile. Not at all. Everyone's got their reasons, no need to make things ugly among classmates. Truthfully, their hypocrisy was obvious from the get-go. But I still needed them to do things for me. The same things they did for Sherry in the past life. Of course, I didn't like Sherry, she's not even my parents' real child, showing off with my family's money, who'd like that? Luckily, my parents don't like her now either. They said once she turns of age, they'll kick her out. I just loathe her, wish for Sherry to live in constant unrest. Speaking and doing anything with these shallow classmates was easy, no concern about word getting back to my parents. These students, doing nothing but scheming how to connect with more powerful heirs, regarded true heiress's words like a royal decree. During the next break, Sarah accidentally knocked over the water cup on Sherry's desk. Freshly poured hot water splashed all over her hand. Ah! With a scream, Sherry looked at her scalded arm, tears forming from the pain. What's your problem? I had my cup in the middle of the desk, and you still knocked it over. Did you do it on purpose? Sarah grinned smugly. Oh, you caught me. Sherry ground her teeth. Are you crazy? Why on earth splash me? Sarah shrugged. Just don't like you. Why acting so high and mighty? Thought you were a phoenix, huh? Sherry raised a hand, wanting to hit her. Sarah suddenly pushed her, causing her to sit hard on the ground, injured hand beneath her weight. Blood smearing, she started to cry. I know you're all brown-nosers. I'll go home and tell my parents. They won't let you get away with this. Screw you. Another girl, friends with Sarah, flipped her off. Lying? You dragged on stuff I asked for, turns out you're not even qualified to speak in front of the richest couple. What's the act now? You know, I used to treat you so well. And this is how you pay me back? Just wait, as long as you don't transfer schools, I'm going to make your life miserable. Looking at those who used to flatter me at my desk, treating me like I was the best, and now they're acting like they own me. Sherry just couldn't hold it in anymore. She started kicking anything in reach like a madwoman. Who would have thought she'd end up knocking over a desk? With a dull thud, she got knocked out cold. Everyone just watched, unfazed. It wasn't until class was about to start that the teacher finally took her to the hospital. That evening, the driver picked me up and took me to the hospital. Sherry was lying in bed, and my parents? They weren't worried, just anxious. Sherry, tell us what's going on. How'd you end up knocking yourself out? Did someone at school bully you? Tell us, we won't let you get hurt for nothing. But Sherry looked like she just swallowed a fly. No, it was just me. I tripped. I felt a little touched. Even after I had people mess with her, she still didn't rat me out. I didn't want to let her down. I admitted. Yeah, she got bullied at school. My parents got angry. Who did it? I nonchalantly pointed to myself. It was me. They were stunned. I slowly explained, no real reason, just can't stand her. I'm your real daughter, so why does everyone crowd around her? She stole my parents, my friends, my spotlight. So, yeah, I had people bully her. And if there's a next time, she won't just pass out. My parents, instead of reprimanding me, looked at me lovingly. Well, then it makes sense. They're your parents, don't stress about it. How about we take you away for a few days? Just you. Sherry looked like she was about to faint again. Mom, Dad, it's fine. I understand my sister. But they just shot her a cold look. Why didn't you share your friends with her? Didn't we always tell you to? You passing out is on you, selfish much? My parents' views were totally skewed now. The more unreasonable you seem, the more they like you. Seeing this, Sherry tried desperately to defend me. But my parents' dislike was too deep. Enough. Just rest. We'll send a maid to help you. Reflect on this. Sherry's eyes briefly showed her anger. She clutched the blanket tightly. Afterward, Sarah and others stayed under my protection without facing any consequences from the wealthiest family. This proved one thing: Sherry's value to my parents seemed minimal. As a result, Sherry was treated even worse at school. Her day started with screams. A few hideous, poison-covered toads suddenly leaped out and landed on her face. She shook violently, like she was being electrocuted, before finally getting rid of them. As she gagged over a trash can, someone kicked her inside. With a new scream, her pretty princess dress got filthy, and she smelled terrible. "You're going too far." The class laughed. "Too far? You weren't complaining when you faked being rich to trick us. Who made you so vain? We're just reclaiming what you took from us. You, imposter, belong in the trash. Why'd you come out? Somebody, get her back in, it's not fun if she's out. She's so dirty, within 10 steps and I'll puke. Who wants to go near?" Still, someone brave approached, covering their nose, and shoved her back into the trash can, sealing the lid. She struggled, but to no avail. After about 3 minutes, Sherry began to sob loudly. "I'll never forgive any of you." Her cries were heart-wrenching, but I felt nothing. Didn't I suffer the same in a trash can last time? 10 minutes later, the teacher arrived, classmates returned to their seats, and she didn't come out herself. When the teacher found her, she was staring blankly but with an eerie smirk. Her gaze pierced through everyone to meet mine. She slowly approached, bringing her stench to face me. "Anna, you're the one I'll never forgive." The next week, I noticed a shift in how my parents treated me. Until one day, I overheard a conversation between them and Sherry. "You say Anna spent time at a beauty lab to make this face mask for your mother's birthday?" Sherry replied softly. "Yeah, she really thought it out. I forgot Mom's birthday and had no gift, so she let me pretend it was from me. I can't take credit, but at least I can honor her gesture. So if she asks, say it was from me." My parents paused, then agreed. No wonder my parents seemed cooler toward me lately. Sherry was secretly winning them over. I rudely pushed open the door. All three looked at me. "This isn't my gift, it's yours. Why pretend it's from me? You think I'm clueless and trying to kick me out by buttering them up?" "Sherry, what makes you think you can decide for me? I'm the real daughter here. Playing an annoying, brainless girl who's always shouting, that's a piece of cake." As expected, Mom and Dad's brows were furrowed in annoyance because of my dreadful performance. The system effortlessly shifted that annoyance entirely onto Sherry. Their biases ran so deep that they didn't even think it through and just snapped at Sherry. "Why did you lie to us? What's this nonsense? Is this supposed to be fun? What makes you think you can decide for your sister?" They said, "I find your behavior stranger and stranger. Is there something wrong with you?" Sherry looked at me, frustrated, then forced a smile at Mom and Dad. I was just trying to help." To prevent any more accidents, I raised my hand and slapped Sherry hard, right there in front of them. "Don't ever decide for me again, got it?" The sudden scene stunned everyone. Sherry was holding her face in disbelief. I smirked and pointed towards the door. "Get out. Get out of this house." Sherry's eyes turned fierce. She screamed and charged at me. But Mom and Dad were quick, grabbing her, their voices icy. "What are you trying to do?" With tears in her eyes, Sherry shouted, "So it's okay for her to hit me, but not for me to hit back? Aren't you being unfair?" Their frustration with her was at an all-time high. "You've really let us down. How are we being unfair? Is it not because you keep testing our limits?" "Sherry, we've provided for you as the law requires. But it's true, you can't raise someone else's child and expect them to turn out right. Leave, and from now on, stay away from us." The system connecting Sherry could only shift their feelings for me to her, but not her good feelings to me. Originally, under the system's influence, they were already displeased with her. Now, failing to manage her emotions and lashing out solidified their anger. Mom and Dad erupted, dragging her towards the door. She refused to leave, clinging to the threshold desperately. "Housekeeper, call the security." Obediently, the housekeeper brought in some strong guys. Each of them grabbed one of Sherry's arms, dragging her out and tossing her at the entrance like trash. The door slammed shut, but Sherry's frantic shouting continued. "Mom, Dad. After raising me for so many years, are you really going to abandon me for her? I'm not as awful as you think. There's a reason behind everything. Please don't leave me. I promise to be good, I just want a home." She cried at the door for a long time. But Mom and Dad showed no intention of reconsidering. "We never thought she'd turn out this way. I mean, she really hasn't done anything, but she's just so unbearable. Forget it, she brought it upon herself. We've done our duty, no one can blame us." In the end, Sherry couldn't scream the door open. She left home with nothing. The next day, I saw her at school. Who knows where she spent the night, but she looked ragged, as if she'd aged 10 years overnight. She sat at her desk, ignoring the taunts and whispers. When I arrived, her eyes sparkled with hope. "Anna." I raised an eyebrow at her. She suddenly rushed towards me, yanking me out of the classroom. Around the corner in the hallway, her wild eyes were filled with intense emotions. You've discovered the system, haven't you? Otherwise, why the sudden change? You used to always try to please Mom and Dad, didn't you? You have to know." I crossed my arms and nodded. "Yeah, I know. So what? You understand now, but it's too late, you've been kicked out. You never belonged to my family, got it?" She glared at me fiercely. "Why do you take everything from me? Why did you come back? You disappeared, I had become the beloved daughter of a billionaire. Then you returned and ruined it all. The system was heaven's gift to me. You're the one who should be out. How do you know about it? I can't accept this, I can't. I'll kill you." Suddenly, she reached for my neck. I quickly dodged, and she chased after me. She'd lost all sense, and I knew confronting her wasn't a battle I could win. But soon some of my classmates who'd been watching jumped in. "Who do you think you are to lay a hand on Anna? We heard you got kicked out. How dare you take it out on Anna?" They kicked her over and over. She kept getting up, unfazed by the pain, still trying to reach me. Over and over. Finally, after about 10 minutes, she stayed down. Sherry closed her eyes and was rushed to the hospital. The doctors made their call. Multiple injuries, and many blows to the head, concussion unavoidable, now amnesiac. Plus, the scan showed severe brain damage that might lead to mental issues. She sits there on the bed, watching the outside world, laughing wildly, then suddenly crying. Even when she sees me, there's no recognition, like looking at air. Until I come closer. Then she raises her head, clutching her head in agony. "Who are you? Do we know each other? Why do you look so familiar?" I gently took her hand. "I'm your sister, remember? Come on, let's go home." She was sitting in the wheelchair as I pushed her across street after street. Finally, we stopped at the entrance of a small alley. She looked at me, confused. "Sister, why did you bring me here?" Through her face, I saw my past life self. After my parents kicked me out of the house, a group of thugs broke my legs. She was the one who pushed me out of the hospital and stopped in front of this alley. Without hesitation, she pushed me in and abandoned me in this underbelly. In the eyes of some bad guys, my disabled legs became a natural advantage. To make me look even more pitiful, they gouged out my eyes, turning me into their tool for making money. I begged along the streets, living in endless darkness. Now, I gave the wheelchair a hard push. She looked around frantically, seeing the predatory looks from those people. "Sister, help me. Please help me." Her cries for help were exactly like mine in my past life, met with silence. A year later, I saw a pitiful beggar in the busy city. Her eyes were hollowed out, and her legs were curled up in a grotesque way. In front of her was a broken bowl with scattered small bills. Her once beautiful but now dirty face opened slightly. "Please, kind folks, give me some money. I haven't eaten in days. I don't want to starve, I want to live." People looked at her with pity. As I walked past, I tossed a few coins and said a few words. "You know, you were meant to be begging here all along. You wanted too much before and thought it was all deserved. From now on, you can return to your business, but this time, there's no chance of getting back what you lost. I walked away, carefree. The next day, I heard she died mysteriously. The coroner said it was natural causes, no evidence of foul play. Only I knew the truth. She was erased by the system. I became the sole heiress of a wealthy family. From now on, my life would never face any storms again. I finally reclaimed the future that was rightfully mine.